40 years ago in Minneapolis, Minnesota, young electrical engineer Earl Bakken handcrafted the world's first wearable, battery-operated cardiac pacemaker. Earl and his brother-in-law Palmer Hermansley went on to found Medtronic, a company they wanted, as Earl put it, to do some good in the world. So began the legacy of Medtronic. In 1973, MicroRel was created as a division of Medtronic to design and manufacture the hybrid circuitry that monitors and carries out pacing functions.
Through this whole 9.5 years, we've been treated with nothing but kindness and concern. The people of Medtronic have been wonderful. It's, you know, as you can imagine, you know, your first couple of years thinking that there's a device that has to function every second of every day, it's mind-boggling to a layperson. And it's just, you know, I teach a Sunday school class of college students, and one morning a student said, you know, why don't we see miracles? And I said, you know, I've seen miracles. You're just looking in the wrong place. I see miracles. People out there, you know, God giving them the ability to heal other people. And I've seen it.
Shirley, have you noticed much of a difference?
It's just amazing, the difference, the things that he can do now that he couldn't do before. Little things, you know, that we take for granted, like when he poured cereal, he'd pour it all over the counter. Yeah. He couldn't shake it. Couldn't carry a cup of coffee across the room, or had a terrible time walking. There was one time at night that he couldn't even get back to the bedroom after he was up. He just crawled back, literally. Mm-hmm. His walking was so bad, and you know, he many times could not get food on his utensils. If he did, he'd drop it before he'd get it to his mouth.
Sure.
And none of that. It's just miraculous, and we appreciated Eric talking about seeing miracles every day, and we are living with a miracle.
Yeah, that's great.
Not to make the story sound redundant, but I've had another muscle transplanted into my arm out of my legs. In case anybody wasn't here last time, I paralyzed my arm playing football. They've done a number of nerve and muscle transplants, and Medtronic had a device that a doctor in Montreal felt would be a good application for the transplanted muscle, and then they put in an iTrail 2 unit into my arm and ran leads down to this transplanted muscle, and I got continuous stimulation throughout the day. Every 30 seconds, 24 hours a day, I would get a shock from the unit, and over a 5-6 month period, it got to where I could sustain a contraction with the muscle on my own, and I was no longer needing the unit. And since then, they've explanted it. But it's been tremendous in aiding me in this struggle to get my arm back. I've had many other different devices, most of them external by other doctors and neurosurgeons, and bar none, the product that Medtronic puts out as far as my application, and as you can see everybody else that's up here, the applications throughout the company, I mean, bar none, hands down, it is the best stimulator I've ever had, and I don't know where I would be today without that stimulator, so I greatly appreciate that.
Well, good.
You know, the pregnancies is where I first had gastroparesis episodes, unbeknownst to the doctors. They just thought it was, you know, pregnancy related. But I had full-blown gastroparesis in my pregnancies due to gestational diabetes. And it's a miracle both of our kids lived. There was a lot of complications. Both were born early. And so when I called Dr. McCallum, they said they were actually waiting for approval. They were hoping to get it within 1 to 2 weeks while I was in the hospital in Seattle. And I literally, and the nurses were great, I filled out everything. We were faxing things back and forth, and I was the first clinical trial patient. That was 3.5 years ago, and it has saved my life, literally. I was dying.
Pretty active when he was young, and he played soccer. And the first episode that he had was during a soccer game. And my brother was there, who was in medical school at the time. And my son passed out in the middle of a game. And we were trying to,
Not to mention I scored a point first.
Yes, he did. He scored first. He scored first. Yeah. He did. Yeah,
Everything is important, Lee.
Yeah, well,
Everything is important.
It's all very relative, as to where you were and what was going on. But yeah, I mean, talking about a device. The device has really done a lot for us, for the parents, as well as for James. Because before the device, we were always concerned about leaving him alone in the house, even though he was old enough to leave for 5 or 10 minutes or an hour or something like that. We were just concerned about his condition. Now, excuse me, that we have the device, it's much more comforting, because we can feel comfort in leaving him by himself. When he comes home from school, as latchkey kids do, his mother teaches school and I practice all day.
I got to be where I am from automobile accident 4 years ago. I'm a C5-6 quad, and a doctor had diagnosed me as I wouldn't be able to push my own wheelchair, much less walk again. I don't know if I never gave up. And through therapies and wanting to find out how close I could come to walking, I ran into some people that wanted to see if they could make me walk.
Dr. Herman's one of those folks?
Dr. Herman is one of those folks, yes.
Okay. I also put on clean clothes, so I mean, what are we doing here? Now he's got all kinds of stuff he's going to turn on and make work.
I got all kinds of gadgets here.
Yeah, all these gizmos, right? You all set there, guy?
I think I've got it.
Okay, you going to come on out here and join me for a bit?
Did that fall off me? I think my...
Dr. Herman's going to help with a couple of things. All right?
Yes, it fell off. Hold on. Too many gadgets.
You getting tuned up back there?
A bionic man?
Yeah, okay. I told him I showered, told him new clothes, the whole thing.
I've been called a bionic man a few times.
Okay.
That was the easy part.
Yeah. Now comes the hard part. He's got to hit this mark out here. We got another blue X over here, guy.
Yeah, it gets easier as I go.
Yeah.
After I get stretched out.
Yeah, stretched out. Okay.
But this is something that I wanted to show the doctors that had diagnosed me, that I would never walk again, was he's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of fun, isn't it? You want to walk back over? Or?
Back when I was in high school, I had a dear aunt, Aunt Jackie, who I watched develop Parkinson's disease, and she finally died of the condition. It took a while, and I watched her suffer, and it was and I was learning about the technologies that your company's working on and how you're improving people's lives. You know, I love doing magic and juggling because I love to make people happy. But you guys do the real magic. I think of my Aunt Jackie and, wow. I realize this was 20 years ago, but thank you, folks. We appreciate it. Rachel and I, thank you.
About my early 20s, and did all the beta blockers and all the calcium channel blockers and every drug. I have the ability to trust what you folks have made, and that's just a huge, huge step. Like the photo you saw, the backcountry skiing, it's nice to know I can be out there without anybody else and know that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Is that you? What do you think about that? Cool. Cool. It's an interesting way to look at it, I guess. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Do you? Yeah. Good.
The information that we have off of his pacemaker, his heart stopped when the gate fell. And thanks to all of you, it saved his life.
What a story. What do you think about that?
Say hi.
Hi. Yeah. I'm paid too much for this. Well?
Paul, when she was recovering after they put the surgery on the Terra. That's in St. John Hospital, and she was just turned 6 months old.
Okay.
She's serious.
I don't have to do anything. I can just... Okay, so the MC says, what now?
We just think that there's a device that extended her life. And I cannot thankful enough. And now that I work in Medtronics and I see those devices, I'm just overwhelmed sometimes seeing a lot of those parts, you know, that realizing that those parts will one day go to one little kid like my daughter. So I'm just thankful.
I first injured my back and neck in high school playing football. I was a middle linebacker. I stuck my head into a big fullback. I had multiple fractures and multiple ruptured discs. They called it a telescopic compression fracture of the entire spine. I was paralyzed for a few moments, and then with help I was able to get off the field.
And after he got the pump, you know, that man began to come back. He's a real joker, always telling jokes and being funny, and he would come back with jokes. And he started coming back to the person that I knew, which was so nice because, you know, a chronic pain patient, they're very difficult people, you know, because they are so
about
unhappy.
You, Mike? Yeah. Did she say you were a difficult
very
person?
Difficult.
Miserable person.
Yeah. So it was very nice to see the man I had married come back.
All right. Very nice.
Miracle. I remember the day I got hope as Christy was talking to me, like, you know, come on. She never gave up on me. She kept trying to. She must have saw a little bit of something inside of me, and she never gave up. And I remember one day I told her, I don't care anymore, and I just can't go on. And that's when she told me about the pump. She knew about it because she's an OR nurse. And I think about all the people out there that don't know. So I try to always spread the word whenever I get a chance. You know.
Good. Excellent.
I wanted to thank all of you. So thank you. Thank you. Good
Year 1300.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Excellent.
When I was a freshman in college, the girls in my sorority and I were having a water balloon fight with a fraternity next door.
And the fraternity was?
Pike. This was a ploy. There were multiple times I thought about just calling it quits, but when you fight that hard, even unknowingly fight that hard to stay alive, it's a little hard to call it quits.
Wow.
About 10 years ago, I had a surprise pregnancy, and I'm not a very good baby factory, and in the process of having Caitlin, they put me on a medication that caused Parkinson's disease. I probably would have gotten it later on at a later date, but I was 38 at the time, and it was very difficult. But they put me on medication. The medication allowed me to continue on. It was difficult because he said that he was going to turn on the stimulators just a bit. So I'm sitting there trying not to hit the doctor now. My mother had backed up to lean against the wall, and I'm going like this, you know, and the whole bed's shaking, just, and he turned it on just a bit, and it stopped. I went from this to this. It was great. That up into the bed.
Wow.
But eventually, she hit the right dial-up number, and I could walk again. I'm no longer taking 35 pills a day. I'm down to 5. Thank you. The best part for me is that Caitlin isn't carrying me around. She isn't transporting.
I think that I'm really happy that my mom got the implants because it was really hard before. But I'm just really glad that she has them, and it was my greatest wish.
That's because I'm still waiting for a heart transplant.
And you're on the list.
Correct.
So, in comes Mr. Bond. Back in... There's a revealing.
The leads are my old leads from my first 2 pacers.
Okay.
And in June, April, May, towards the end of May, I was trying First I thought yes, then I thought about it, and I thought no. The reason I really wouldn't want a rechargeable product is every time we get a new product, we advance. And if you had a battery that was rechargeable, I wouldn't be advancing in my product. We could just sort of stay status quo when we need better products. And every time I've gotten one, I've gotten a better product. My first pacer did not have activity sensing in it. My second one did, which made a difference. This one also has activity sensing, and this product is also a 3rd lead, which makes a big difference.
Great. All right. Well, it's a bit different, you know, you being a Medtronic employee, receiving our therapies. What is it that someone like you could tell the audience here today?
Well, we got to keep making them good, and we got to keep advancing in technology, and someday we'll make an even bigger difference. We do make a big difference in a lot of people's lives, and the object is we just got to make the best product so people can have the best life they can with whatever problem they do have.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. Well, keep doing it. Great.